Welcome everybody to our continuing coverage here from the Canada Summer Games in beautiful St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. They've been tremendous hosts thus far for these games, and today we are at the Fortis Canada Games Centre to take in some athletics. I'm Robbie Doherty, and pleased to be welcoming to the broadcast a man who needs no introduction to the sport of athletics, Adam Dunphy. Adam, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Robbie, and we're getting off to a good start here on the track with the women's wheelchair 100 meters. An exciting afternoon of preliminary action leading us up to some finals in a couple days' time.
Certainly an action-packed week is getting prepared to kick things off, and this is our first day here with the coverage at the Canada Games Centre, and lots of heats, lots of different events to talk about this afternoon. Adam, anything catch your eye early on?
Well, just the sheer amount of talent that is out here today or this week on the Rock. We've got some Canadian champions in the mix, some medalists at various national championships, be it the Open Championship, the U20s, or the U18. So certainly going to see some high-level track and field over these next 4 days.
And for those perhaps who don't see a lot of athletics competition, you know, perhaps casual fans tuning in maybe for the first time, is there any notable athletes or provinces who are usually a stronghold in these types of events?
Well, you can never count out Canada's two biggest provinces, Ontario and Quebec. They have the numbers and they have the talent, but really there is athletic talent all across this country. Look at the Maritimes, and you've got competitors like Sarah Mitten, who is a force internationally in the women's shot put, and just looking now on the track at the wheelchair sprinters, a lot of talent in those ranks as well. A lot of these athletes we saw earlier this summer at the Canadian Championships in Ottawa.
Certainly a big summer of competition for all these athletes. Getting ready for heat number one. We can meet the competitors. In lane number 2, Corey Hicks from Newfoundland and Labrador. In lane 3, Brittany Volkman from Alberta. In lane 4 from Ontario, Laura Redwood. And in lane 5 from British Columbia, Brooke Parapoluk. So it should be a great race, only 4 lanes going for this one. And Adam, one thing I want to ask before we get going, obviously for those viewers just tuning in, it's a wet and cold day here in St. John's. What kind of effect can that have on perhaps track conditions or for these racers?
Well, it's going to make things, you know, a touch more difficult. Of course, track gets wet, it gets a little slippery. And of course, these competitors in wheelchairs, so the traction might not be as good, but it looks like the officials did a pretty good job getting the track back in pretty good order. And
great point.
These competitors have such good control of their wheelchairs that at this level it shouldn't affect them too much.
You talked about the effort going in to make sure the track is in as good a condition as possible. Wonderful shout out to all of our volunteers who in St. John's given up their time to make sure that these games are second to none, and they've certainly accomplished that thus far as we begin competition day number 2 at these Canada Summer Games, and it looks like we're just about to get going.
So this will be heat 1 of 2, and it is going to be an A and B final. So 9 athletes scheduled to come to the line here. So 8 are going to make it through to that A final. And the way it will be determined, it will be the top 3 finishers in each heat moving on, and then it will be the next best 2 times of those athletes who didn't finish in the top 3 of a heat.
One of my favorite parts of these games, Adam, is just seeing the determination, the focus on these athletes as they approach the line. You can just imagine all the training, all the sacrifices that have been made to get to this point, and now it's performing time. So we line up. Reminder, Newfoundland and Labrador in lane 2. Alberta, lane 3. Ontario in lane 4, and BC in lane 5, and we are starting a good start early on from Brittany Volkman of Alberta, picking up early speed, being chased by Redwood from Ontario. Still a big lead from Volkman, trying to get there. What a break! Not looking back in this 100 meters, so it's going to be Brittany Volkman crossing the line first. Crossing second will be Redwood of Ontario. Parapulik of British Columbia third, and Corey Hicks from Newfoundland and Labrador in fourth. And a good race to start.
Now, one thing when it comes to these wheelchair races, you're going to have athletes that are in different classifications. So para-athletes are classified by what impairment they have. So in this last heat, we had 3 athletes who were a T54 category, including Brittany Volkman, who came across the line first in that opening heat. And what a T54 classification means is you're an athlete who is dealing with some limb deficiency, a leg length difference, or impaired muscle power, or impaired passive range of movement. The only athlete not a T54 in that race was Brooke Parapulik out of BC. She's a T33 athlete, and those are athletes with coordination impairments such as hypertonia, ataxia, or ateosis. And where things get a little complicated if you're new to para events is because you have athletes who have different classifications racing against each other, it doesn't necessarily come down to who's got the quicker time. Places are categorized and ranked on what they call RASA points, and RASA points are calculated by how close your time is based upon the world record in your classification in that event. So right now those points are being calculated, and we will soon find out who scored the most RASA points in that event, and then we'll have the places and can determine who is going through the A and B final.
Well, thanks for that explanation, Adam. Certainly great to keep in mind as this coverage continues. Another heat, as you mentioned, coming up just a few moments' time. This time we're going to have 5 racers on the line. Great crowd on hand taking this one in as well. Great community support from Newfoundland and Labrador, specifically here in the provincial capital of St. John's. Certainly a tremendous week around, and history made last night. The first women's baseball game ever played in the Canada Summer Games, so exciting times. But today we're here for athletics. And you mentioned heat number 2, the 100 meters wheelchair. Coming up, it's getting set at the line. So Adam, if you're a para athlete, what are once again, excuse me, for those who perhaps might be tuning in for the first time, what are they trying to work on in warm-ups? What specifically are some skills that they're really trying to be ready to go for when the race actually begins?
We see them doing their final preparation here. Just like anything, they're trying to get some of those nerves out, just fine-tuning things before the line. And a day like this, they're also trying to stay warm as the conditions not exactly ideal, but they've raced in this type of weather before. And you mentioned that crowd, Robbie, certainly a hearty crowd with the weather we have seen so far today.
It's been like that every day. Great support here in St. John's for these games. They're very excited coming in. I had the chance to talk to a number of people traveling here from coast to coast, and that's what these Canada Games are about. It's wins and losses certainly important, but when it comes down to it, it's about creating memories, making friends, and parents, fans, family members talking about how special it is for all these athletes who have made the journey from coast to coast to compete here in St. John's. So best wishes to everybody. And looks like we're about ready, so let's meet the athletes and their lane assignments. In lane number 1, we have Maggie Slessor from Alberta, Jessica Guerrier from Quebec, Tiana Hesmert from British Columbia, Amanda Faniza from Quebec, and Ava Delaney from Saskatchewan. And a correction, lane 2, Jessica Guerrier from British Columbia. So 2 British Columbia racers on the line here, Adam.
And Guerrier coming off a 4th place finish at the Canadian Track and Field Championships at the end of July. Also in that race was Maggie Slesser out of Alberta. Again, she's in lane 1. She was 6th in that race.
And that experience so close to the Canada Games must be so helpful to these athletes, getting a little taste of national competition before these games. And it looks like we are off, and out front, Guerrier. You talked about her big finish at the national championships. She's not looking back early on. Chasing on the inside is Slesser. Great action thus far, big speed. There you see the track conditions, but this is Guerrier looking to cross the line first. From British Columbia, she will do so. And back, second across. Looked like Delaney. Slesser passes as well. And to wrap things up, it looks like Hesmert from British Columbia. So a great start for Guerrier on lane 2, didn't look back.
Excellent start by Guerrier from BC. She's coming through in 2067. Now the wind's very active this afternoon, as you might imagine, in St. John. So right now they've got a 3.8 meter per second tailwind. So these times, not wind legal, you can have up to a 2 meter per second tailwind. But in championship racing, it really doesn't matter too much in the prelims. You just got to get the time and the RASA score when it comes to the para events. And Guerrier certainly putting her best or very solid performance forward, and she's going to move herself on to that A final.
There you see, getting ready to kick our next set of heats off. The 100 meters men's wheelchair. You talked about that wind, and for some of these athletes, you know, traveling to St. John's, one of the windiest spots in the nation. What kind of a factor is that, Adam? It's hard to train.
Well,
I was going to say it's hard to train for, perhaps if you live in a spot that doesn't feel the wind, or at least the gusts that we have here in St. John's.
Well, right now, the way the wind's blowing, they won't be too upset because it's at their backs. And, you know, in a championship race like this, or which we will see later in this week, you know, you want to have wind legal. You want to be able to have a time that can qualify you down the road. But when you're at these big championships, you know, getting a title is a pretty big thing, obviously. So you won't be as upset if the winds are against you. And again, St. John's, it's going to be windy.
So there you see a look at the athletes coming up in the first heat of the 100-meter men's wheelchair. Seems like we have 8 athletes competing in this. Getting set for the big start. In lane 1, starting in lane 2, we will have Clisson, Jane Bay, Dante Cormier. In lane for New Brunswick in lane 3. In lane 4, Gavin Baggs of Newfoundland and Labrador. In lane 5, Ty Young from Ontario. In lane 6, Paulo Guerrero from British Columbia. In lane 7, Matthew Dykstra from Alberta. And in lane 8, Jeremy Jones from Newfoundland and Labrador. So a full track this time.
And this will just be one heat of these men's 100-meter wheelchair prelims. So if you get across the line here, you're moving on to the final. A couple of these competitors were in the final at the Canadian Track and Field Championships. Tyson Deschambault in lane 2. He was 8th at the Canadian Track and Field Championships, while Gavin Baggs, he'll be in lane 4. He was 5th. And Dante Cormier in lane 3 from New Brunswick. He was the bronze medalist.
Certainly a lot of success. Some big resumes coming into this big 100-meter wheelchair heat. as we get ready to get started.
From Team British Columbia, Paul Guerrero.
Great focus on all these athletes.
From Team Alberta, Matthew Dykstra. And in lane 8,
At the
also
line.
from Newfoundland and Labrador, Jeremy Jones.
So here we go. Lined up.
Set.
Looking to get started. First heat, 100-meter men's wheelchair, and a big quick start early on. Dante Cormier going strong from New Brunswick. To Jane Bay, he will cross the line first. And a big finish. Certainly close in speed, Adam.
So 16:33 for Cormier across the line. And the winds have died down. They're now down to 1.8 meters per second tailwind. So they're legal again, and that is a great time by the Canadian bronze medalist from earlier this summer. Now the calculations will be made, and we'll find out just how many points that is going to get Cormier.
What a big start from Dante. There you see crossing the line, and a lot of power, a lot of speed generated.
So while they do the math for the men's wheelchair race, now update the standings from the women's wheelchair prelim. So Brittany Volkman finishing with the best RASA score. She picks up 259 points thanks to her 1990 clocking. Jessica Guerrier from BC picked up 147 thanks to her 26.7. So they are the top two finishers. And it looks like our A final will be Volkman, Guerrier, Lord Redwood, Brooke Perpelec, Maggie Slesser, Ava Delaney, Amanda Beniza, and Corey Hicks.
So great day here for athletics. We saw 3 heats already go, 2 in the women's 100-meter wheelchair and 1 in the 100-meter men's wheelchair. Coming up, we have the women 100-meter Special Olympics heats 1 and 2, followed by the 100-meter women's para-ambulatory heat 1. Such an exciting day for fans of the sport, being able to tune in, witness the best up-and-coming athletes from across the nation, coast to coast, on hand here for these summer games. Coming up next, a full track once again. Rochelle Perron in lane 1 from Quebec. In lane 2, Georgie Mattison from Manitoba. Ashley Hughes from Ontario in lane 3. Samantha Walsh from Newfoundland and Labrador in lane 4. In lane 5, Sabrina Yumi Perron. In lane 6 from Ontario, Riley Bell. In lane 7, Nova Scotia's Bella McKenzie. And in lane number 8, Katarina Mader from British Columbia. So a full slate of racers. Any names pop out at you early on from this, Adam?
Well, if we look ahead quickly to the second heat, the defending champion is in the field, and that is Joy McLaughlin from Team Nova Scotia. A couple of athletes in this opening heat come in with seed time sub 16 seconds. That includes Rachel Perrant, who's going to be in lane 1. Here is Bella McKenzie, Team Nova Scotia. She comes with a 16:04 seed time. And she's going to have Riley Bell from Team Ontario next to her. She has the best seed time in this opening heat, 13:74. And there you see Bell going through her final preparations in the red Ontario kit.
We've heard so much about the physical training that goes into the preparation for these games. Adam, talk about maybe perhaps the mental training that you might see these athletes work on in terms of routine, repetition, getting themselves into this ideal performance state? Like, how big is it? How set are they before they take off and running to stay consistent, to make sure they're at their best when the time comes?
Well, especially in these sprints, just you have to have everything at a well-polished level, because it comes down to 1/100ths of a second. Sometimes it comes down to the thousandths of a second separating first from second place. So the starts are key, and then it's just executing. Now, I was a middle distance runner in my day. I was not a good middle distance runner by any stretch of the imagination, but I often thought to myself, oh, 100 meters, you can do that. It's over in, if you're decent, it's 15, 16 seconds, 17 seconds. Of course, I wasn't going to hit those times, but just everything needs to be in tune. It needs to be calculated. And just these sprinters have worked tirelessly, especially on their starts. That is so key. And we'll see what they can do here. And just getting a look at that track, we saw when we were at the start line for the wheelchair races, the turn looked a little wet still, but they'll deal with that when they need to. But the straightaway,
Manitoba. Lane 3, Ashley Hughes of Ontario. Lane 4, Samantha Walsh, Newfoundland and Labrador. Lane 5, Sabrina Yumi-Padon. Lane 6, Riley Bell of Ontario. Lane 7, Bella McKenzie of Nova Scotia. And in lane 8, Katarina Mader, also of British Columbia. So they're getting ready to line up.
In lane 2, from Team Manitoba, Jordan Matheson.
introducing the athletes to the fans. And there's a look of focus on Riley Bell.
Also from
There will be an A and B final in this event, so the top 3 finishers from each heat, and then the athletes for the next best 2 times will move on to the A final, and then the remaining 8 competitors will contest the B final.
Here you see in lane 6, Riley Bell. You talked about the importance, Adam, of routine, but you said sometimes it's about staying warm, and a lot of movement from Riley Bell as that wind is chilly.
And they've been out of their sweats for quite a bit here at the line, so the battle now just trying to stay warm, but here they are, getting ready to go.
So here we go, good start from Riley Bell of Ontario, trying to get to the front. Looks like beside her, Bella McKenzie, staying close, but right now it's Bell from Ontario. Out in front, looks like she'll cross the line first. In second, I believe, Rochelle Padon from Quebec. But a great 100 meters here to kick this off in the 100-meter Special Olympics heat number 1.
Bell doesn't even look like she's broken a sweat. She elects to start from a standing position, not using the blocks, but it certainly works for her as she got off to a great start and no one was able to really challenge her. And she comes through at 14:47. So she takes this heat by over half a second. The wind just outside legal, 2.1 meters per second tailwind. Rochelle Perrant and Bella McKenzie finishing 1-2, 15-16 and 15-17 respectively. So they are going to move on to the A final as well. Georgie Matheson and Ashley Hughes now will wait and see if their times will advance them.
Well, you mentioned it before the last heat and all the different categories and all the different interpretations of races happening today. It's so special about the Canada Summer Games. And heat number 2 coming up in this women's 100-meter Special Olympics. So 6 racers on the line for this. Miriam Vesna from Quebec in lane 2. In lane 3, Joy McLaughlin in lane 3. In lane 4, Regan Hoffley from Manitoba. Lane 5, Olivia Newman from British Columbia. Olivia Osmond from Newfoundland and Labrador in lane 6. In lane 7, Lena Kanchin from Ontario. And in lane 8, Janie McGraw from New Brunswick. Any athletes to watch out for, in your opinion, early on, Adam?
Lane 3, Joy McLaughlin from Team Nova Scotia. She is the defending champion. Back in 2022, she won in a time of 14:02, and that is that was her winning time back in 2022. The game's record dates back to 2009, 13:65 by Catherine Partlow from Team Ontario.
So there we go. Racers getting lined up again. Introductions to this capacity crowd on hand, taking this in. Big moments, anticipation for these athletes as they set up 100 meters, heat number 2, Women's Special Olympics.
Stand up.
And we're going to get reset. Talk us through this process, Adam.
Well, the officials may be just seeing something that didn't look quite right in one of the athletes' starting position. Nothing really caught my eye, but it's better to get the reset at this point than have a callback. And there you see the official with the green card. So there is no charge to anyone in this field. So the athletes will now reset, and hopefully we'll get the gun this time.
So here we go. Quebec lane 2, Nova Scotia lane 3, Manitoba 4, BC 5, Newfoundland and Labrador 6, Ontario 7, and 8 New Brunswick is halfway through. What a dash. In the middle looks like Manitoba's Regan Hoffley with a great start. Continuing the speed as they cross. She crosses first. I believe it was BC crossing second. And a great finish from Jane McGraw at the end. But what a race early on in this 100-meter Special Olympics heat number 2.
Well, Hoffley kind of came out of the pack there. Kanchin out in 7 got off to a great start, as did McLaughlin, the defending champion, in lane 3. But then Hoffley, about halfway through that race, really turned things on. There's that great start by Kanchin. And then Hoffley just getting into her groove, and she comes across in 14:04. The wind's really picked up for that heat, 4.6 meters per second tailwind. So
certainly significant
in this heat. Yeah, that's a big jump, but the athletes of this heat won't mind it. It'll help them stake their claims for this A final.
And great camaraderie and sportsmanship on display here at the Canada Summer Games. There you see the athletes all talking about it, giving each other a pat on the back, and that's what it's all about here at these Canada Summer Games. Another heat coming up in a few moments. Women's 100-meter para-ambulatory heat number 1. Adam, you talked about the different interpretations of sports here, and talk us through what is para-ambulatory.
Para-ambulatory is for athletes, para-athletes that don't use a wheelchair. So the classification system is in place as well for para-ambulatory athletes. There will only be one competitor in the upcoming 100-meter women's para-ambulatory. That's going to be Chloe Dunbar from Team Nova Scotia. She is a T47 athlete. And a T47 classification is for athletes with upper limbs affected by a limb deficiency, impaired muscle power, or an impaired passive range of movement. Now, the ambulatory athletes also use that RASA point scoring system. However, with only one athlete in the field, we will know, as long as Chloe Dunbar crosses the line, that she will be moving on to the final later at these championships.
So exciting times coming up. And there's a look at Dunbar, representing Nova Scotia. Adam, talk about pressure when you show up and you're the only one running on the track. Is this, for someone, perhaps a new fan, is this something that is seen normally where there's only one participant?
Not typically one participant, you usually have 2 or 3, but for Dunbar, this will be good. I know it's funny to say when you're a championship, but it's also a good training exercise for her. She's still going to come through a round, and as long as she crosses the line here in these prelims, she's going to go through to the final. So it's just good race management for her and a good time to practice this, even though she'll be the lone competitor in the field.
This young lady, 16-year-old from Nova Scotia, is third, was earlier this year, the world champion in the T47, 100 meters and 200 meters.
A world champion, Chloe Dunbar.
In just a few minutes.
Talk about Adam extra pressure when all eyes watching you run. And a big crowd at that. There you see in the background, fans surrounding the track. Stands full. Once again, great support here in the St. John's region, provincial capital of beautiful St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador, I should say. As Chloe Dunbar looks to get started. So Adam, she would be looking for a personal best here, obviously.
In the preliminary round here, I think she'll just want to feel things out, just see how she's feeling.
Sure.
And again, just get over that line, you're through, and then you get a chance to race in a final later on at these championships. She's also going to be in the ambulatory 400 meters coming up, and she will have a competitor with her in the 400 meters in Vesta Orchard. We also have seen Dunbar race outside of the para-ambulatory category as well at the Athletics Nova Scotia Canada Games and Legion Trials. She finished 4th overall in the open 100 meter race with a time of 12:77. And sometimes you will see para-athletes, or para-ambulatory athletes more specifically, race in the open sections as well. We saw that a lot at the Canadian Track and Field Championships in Ottawa earlier this summer. So they'll double dip, they'll race the open races, and then they'll race in the para-ambulatory races. But it looks like Chloe Dunbar at these championships is just going to focus on the para-ambulatory events.
You see the sight of the starting line. Those final moments of anticipation. You see the focus on Chloe Dunbar's face. Just imagine all the hours of training that's gone into this. Sacrifices that these athletes have to make. Getting ready for it.
Well, in an interview with Team Nova Scotia's website, she says one of the things she was really looking forward to at these Canada Games is the pin trading, which, of course, at any games, any multi-sport games, that is a very, very big deal.
Long-standing tradition. You see that happening all over the place, every venue I've been to so far, Adam. Lots of athletes trading, lots of fans, families getting together. You can tell it's a long-standing tradition and very special to all those involved here this week.
It has been quite the summer for Dunbar. She competed in her first international race at the World Para-Athletics Paris Grand Prix, where she took gold in the T47 100 meters and then silver in the T47 200 meters. So this young athlete is certainly one to keep an eye on.
So getting ready at the start line. Adam, perhaps I'll let you jump in a little bit here as this race goes on, and if you see anything technical or that she might be looking to do well, feel free to jump in.
You see here in her starting block, she has that support with her, so that's going to allow her to push off, get that force she needs.
A good start as she gets about midway through. 100 meters. Trying to cross that line. She does. Unofficial time, 13.29. So a good run from Chloe.
And the winds have decided to die down again. That was a 1.1 meter per second tailwind. So Chloe Dunbar does what she needs to do. She gets across that line, 13.17, and she will move on to the final.
Another great look by the crew to bring you this ongoing coverage of these Canada Summer Games in St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. Here you see Chloe Dunbar just chatting things over with her coaching staff and fellow athletes. Busy day here at the track. Coverage continues all day and early into the evening. So a much busier starting line this time. Coming up, getting set at the line is making their pre-race preparations.
Team Nova Scotia, Équipe Nouvelle-Écosse, Gabrielle Smith. Team New Brunswick, Équipe Nouveau-Brunswick, Erica Burry.
This will be heat 1 of 3 of the open women's 100 meter prelims. Top 2 finishers from each heat are going to advance to the A final, and then the next best 2 times will join them. And then the next best 8 times will advance to the B final.
So 7 athletes on the line for this heat number 1. Jordan Reed from British Columbia in lane 1. In lane 2, Roxanne Tedga from Quebec. In lane 3, Lynn Shepard of Nova Scotia. In lane 4, Shanice Smickley from New Brunswick. In lane 5, Gabrielle Cole of Ontario. In lane 6, Timi Adelogba from Saskatchewan. And in lane 7, Isabelle Paquette from Yukon. So 3 heats, as you mentioned, Adam. Certainly a lot of pressure going into this.
A couple athletes in this opening heat with some international experience. In lane 2, Roxanne Tedga is a member of Canada's bronze medal winning 4x100 meter relay team at the 2024 U20 World Championships. She also picked up the bronze in this event at the Canadian U20 Nationals earlier this summer in Ottawa. Then in lane 5, Gabrielle Cole from Team Ontario. She was a member of Canada's gold medal winning 4x1 mixed relay team at the World Relays this year. She ran in the heats for Canada.
Certainly so many impressive resumes across the board, and at such young ages, these athletes able to accomplish so much and compete at such a high level. Tremendous display of athleticism here at the track today.
Well, Canada coming off a very good Olympics for track and field in Paris in 2024. Of course, highlighted by the hammer throwers Ethan Katzberg and Cameron Rogers, both picking up the gold medals for Canada. World Championships coming up next month in Tokyo, and Team Canada looking to have another good haul.
We talked about the preparation and the level of focus that goes in to these heats. And these athletes, Adam, you've been there numerous times. How important is it to be able to get into that ideal performance state mentally, just to make sure that you're absolutely ready to go when needed? You just see it in their faces. They are ready.
The heats are funny too because, well, in this case, top two are going through, so you will see sometimes if someone's well out in front in their heat and they'll take a look around, and if they're not really being challenged, they can sort of power down a little bit because they know they're going to get over that line and get one of those automatic qualifier spots. Sure. So we'll see if that plays out at all here in these three heats, because there is a lot of depth here, and these should be very entertaining heats.
Reminder, 7 lanes going in this, so it'll be busy on the track. BC, Quebec, Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Ontario, Saskatchewan, and Yukon. All here to compete in this first heat. Coverage will be continuing all day from St. John's in this athletics action. If you're just joining us, this is the first heat of 3 in the women's 100 meters. And very exciting so far.
Well, if you want to talk about Canada Games alumni, let's go back to 2022. The winner of the women's 100 meters, Audrey Leduc. She won it in a time of 11:55. That set a new Canada Games record. And what has she done since then? Well, she's gone on to set the Canadian record in both the 100 meters and the 200 meters. So these Canada Games really a great breeding ground for future greatness.
And that's so special. We see that not only here at track, but across every sport. It's the future of Canadian sports. You look at the website heading into these games, it's up there now, but every sport, if you click on it individually, they talk about some of the notable alumni, and what an opportunity to see these athletes compete now at these early stages of their careers. Those moments getting closer and closer. Getting ready to kick things off.
Now this event's scheduled to get underway in about 4 minutes time, so I wonder if they might let them go a little early. They're running ahead of schedule here, which is always nice, but sometimes you have the athletes, as you see now, just at the blocks, just sort of waiting to get going.
You know, we talked about so many times today about that anticipation, just wanting to get going and staying focused. They know what's on the line. You can imagine how it might be 2 minutes for us, but it feels like 20 minutes for them standing at that line, as you've done many times.
And these 7 competitors, knowing what time they are scheduled to get underway, have kept their warm-up gear on. I have to imagine that'll come off in a minute or two. They'll do some final stride outs. And then we will be underway in this opening heat.
First heat of 3 women's 100 meters. The première vague de pouvoir au 100 mètres féminin. In lane 1, from Team British Columbia, Jordan Reed. In dans le couloir 2, de l'équipe Québec, Roxana Tedgat. In lane 3, from Team Nova Scotia, Lynn Shepard.
Look at Jordan Reed. She'll have lane 1. Member of Team BC. She was 3rd at the BC Championships.
There's Lynn Shepard, Nova Scotia, ready to go in lane 3. Shanice Smickley in lane 4. Gabrielle Cole seen there as well, lane 5 from Ontario. So here we go, the athletes approaching the line. Looking to get started on the blocks. Here we go. And they are off, and a big start early on from Gabrielle Cole of Ontario. Trying to break out in front, but on the inside in lane 1, Jordan Reed makes a break for it. Could be a big finish and a great effort from Cole to gain distance at the end. And what a finish.
Great running by Reed, but in the end, it looks like it's going to be Cole and Tedga picking up the 2 auto qualifier spots. Cole coming through in 11:63, Tedga in 11:71, and it was a great start by Cole. Reed got off to a great start too, and Tedga just able to get Reed at the line for that second big cue. Reed comes through at 11:79, so she'll have to wait and see if that time is going to be quick enough to get her through with a small cue.
A great run in every lane. That was certainly close. You talked about the 2 big provinces in the pre-show. We saw it on display there as Ontario taking that one in the end.
Other bubble time right now to get through to that A final belongs to Shanice Smickley from New Brunswick. She clocks 12:03.
Le top 2 de chaque vague et les 10 meilleurs temps suivants. Alors, la prochaine vague qui va débuter dans quelques instants. Donc, nous aurons des athlètes du Manitoba, de Terre-Neuve et Labrador, du Québec, de la Nouvelle-Écosse, du Yukon, de l'Alberta et de l'Ontario.
I think they're just waiting to see now their times come up on the scoreboard track side.
There you see the athletes. A reminder, heat number 2 of 3 coming up. Once again, the women's 100-meter. These races certainly showcasing the athleticism in all these athletes. Such a short race. I mean, in theory, if you run 100 meters yourself, it's longer than a lot of people think. They make it look so effortlessly. Just such power and speed right from the start. Certainly impressive.
They certainly make 100 meters look very short at the speeds they go at.
Looks like heat number 2 about to get going. Once again, a busy track, 7 lanes being used. Manitoba on the inside first. Lane number 1, Kyla Finley. In lane number 2, Stephanie Pelly of Newfoundland and Labrador. Lane number 3, Maria Teresa Ulisse from Quebec. And in lane 4, Queen Clayton of Nova Scotia. In lane 5, Zoe Bells of the Yukon. In lane 6, Riona Morrison of Alberta. And in lane 7, Elizabeth Tennis from Ontario. Any names pop out at you early on, Adam, as we anticipate the second heat?
That last one you mentioned, Elizabeth Tanis, she's coming off a silver medal at the Canadian U20 Championships in Ottawa. Also had a great OPSA championship, that is the Ontario High School Championships. So tough lane draw here for Tanis, being on the outside in lane 7. She has the fastest seat time in this field of 11:53.
A look of anticipation to get ready to approach the line. Great shot of the crowd on hand, big support from the community taking part in these Canada Summer Games. Well, here we go, approaching the blocks. Rain picking up here in St. John's once again.
Okay.
So here we go. Early on, you mentioned Elizabeth Tanis, a good start from her on the outside in lane number 7, but in the middle, it seems to be Alberta. Brianna Morrison trying to cross first is Ulysse from Quebec. It looked like she was the first to cross. Certainly great speed in this heat, number 2. I believe it
is Ulysse coming through first at 11:61. Tanis second, 11:87. So they're going to grab the auto qualifier spots out of this heat.
Great speed on Ulysse.
It's a great start by Ulysse. Tanis, again, running blind out at lane 7. But it didn't really hinder her all that much as she gets through in 11:87, and that is a legal wind. It's died a little more. It's 1.7 meters per second tailwind right now. And so as it stands, Jordan Reed still sitting in a qualifier for the A final with that 11:79. Then Kyla Findlay, 11:91 there in that second heat. So as it stands right now, that would also get her through to the A final, but still one heat to come.
And Adam, a bit of a technical question for you as someone who's participated for a number of years in the sport. Right before, I would say about 45 seconds to a minute and a half before the race started, the rain picked up immensely. How does that affect the athletes, and perhaps talk about the difference that a wet track can make in terms of performance, but also maybe even safety?
Well, just traction, that's going to be the big thing, and it's not just once you get going, it's in the blocks. Of course, the last thing you want to do is slip coming out of the block, so it looked like they may have just held them for a second, either hoping that the rain would die a little bit, or maybe just giving them a second to acclimatize to that harder incoming rain. But you will also see, as the athletes get into their gear, that some of them have elected to go with the shirt under the singlet just to keep themselves a little drier here.
There you see a good look at the rain really coming down now here in St. John's. Keep an eye on that. Adding perhaps an extra layer of difficulty. And another big heat coming up. Once again, heat number 3 of the women's 100 meters. Starting out on the inside in lane 2, Selena Kowski from Saskatchewan. In lane 3, Ellie Power of Newfoundland and Labrador. In lane 4, Karis Jacobson of New Brunswick. Lane 5, Addison McAdam of Prince Edward Island. In lane 6, Jayland Cummings of British Columbia. Lane 7, Lillian Waldner of Manitoba. And in lane 8, Georgia Oland of Alberta. That's the lineup for this third and final heat. Any names pop out at you before the race starts, Adam?
Well, we have a returner from the 2022 final in this heat. That is Karis Jacobson from Team New Brunswick. She was 7th back in 2022. Jalen Cummings from Team BC, also one to keep an eye on. She's got lane 6. She was 4th at the BC Championships.
Here you see once again, rain continues to fall. But on the blocks, ready to get going. Heat number 3, the women's 100 meters. And they are off, and a great start from everybody trying to break apart from the pack. On the inside, it looks like Kowalski from Saskatchewan trying to get to that line. First and on the outside, looked like Georgia Oland at the last minute. Might have to see that again, but what a finish on the 2 outside lanes.
Well, that was a great start in 6 by Jalen Cummings out of BC. Looked like she had things in control. On the inside, Kowalski had things through about 50 meters, but then Georgia Oland, as you said, Robbie, coming into frame in a big way, and Oland takes the heat at a time of 11:84. The winds even calmer for that heat. They were down to 1 meter per second tailwind. They are giving the nod right now to Cummings at 12 seconds for that second auto qualifier spot. Although now they're saying Kowalski also at 12 seconds. So it might take a moment here just to figure out who in the end is getting that second big cue from this third and final heat.
We haven't had a day like this since like May. No. Yeah.
Certainly a great race.
No good explaining that to anybody.
La prochaine épreuve seront toujours
One coming right down to the finish.
And for a spot of that A final, it comes down to the thousandths of a second with Cummings and Kowalski both at 12 seconds flat. So they are still giving the nod to Cummings, and the 12-second time will not be enough to get Kowalski through to the A final as a time qualifier. So time qualifiers will be Jordan Reed and Kyla Findley.
They will move ahead. Getting ready to keep things moving. So much action during the day. Next up is our 100 meters Special Olympics. Heat number 1 for the men's.
sur cette épreuve, il y aura 2 vagues d'athlètes qui vont s'élancer. C'est la première. Évidemment.
Busy track once again on the line as all 8 lanes being used. Kyle Girardier from Saskatchewan in lane 1. In lane 2, Jacob Rayfuse from Nova Scotia. In lane 3, Nathan Vian from Manitoba. In lane 4, Jalen Jones of British Columbia. Lane 5, Keegan Waite of Prince Edward Island. Michael Buden of Newfoundland and Labrador in lane 6. In lane 7, Denzel Camden from Quebec. And in lane 8, Rourke Martin from Ontario.
Yeah. What I'll do is
See that rain continuing to
I'll
fall.
send you the
You're in
picture
St.
of our
John's.
rosters. Perfect. Okay.
Top 3 finishers from each of the 2 heats. Moving on to the A final. The athletes with the next best 2 times will join them in that A final.
You see the anticipation on all these athletes' faces, knowing the big moment coming up. This is the first of 2 heats for the men's 100-meter Special Olympics. 100-meter action.
couple of athletes in this heat come in with sub-12 second seed times. Those two athletes are on the outside. That is Denzel Camden from Team Quebec at lane 7. He comes in with a seed time of 11:84. While Rourke Martin from Team Ontario in lane 8, he's got the best seed time overall with an 11:66 clocking.
Here you see across the line, trying to get set up. A big moment coming up. Rain coming down. Certainly still strong.
This is cross-country weather, Robbie. Usually don't see this typically to the fall, but that's good preparation for these guys if they are going to move on to the cross-country season.
When you talk about the effect it can have on their performances here. So athletes dealing with a little bit extra today. Nothing they haven't seen before, I'm assuming.
Well, it's a shame the steeplechase isn't today. Those athletes are used to getting wet, of course, coming across that water barrier.
You see it in the background, those puddles really building up. A great job by the track crew here, the volunteers at these wonderful Canada Summer Games in Newfoundland and Labrador, doing absolutely everything they can to ensure that the track remains in as good condition as possible. Tireless work around the clock going into this.
See the athletes just trying to stay warm now. Some of them have kept their sweats on.
Reminder, our coverage continues all day. If you're a track fan in Canada, it's a good day to take in all the action here from St. John's in these Canada Summer Games. You see the puddle building up in the background, as we mentioned. It's even bigger since last time we saw it. Perhaps the strongest amount of rain we've seen all day. So we'll see how that affects these races.
It's going to be interesting when we move on to the 400-meter hurdles, and then the 15s, and then the flat fours. Just how some of those puddles, if they can clean them up, great, but if not, it'd be certainly something to keep an eye on as they come around that corner.
Looks like we're getting ready to get started. A reminder, Kyle Girardier of Saskatchewan in lane 1. Jacob Rayfuse of Nova Scotia in lane 2. Nathan Vian of Manitoba in lane 3. Jalen Jones of British Columbia in lane 4. Keegan Waite of PEI in lane 5. Michael Buden of Newfoundland and Labrador in lane 6. Denzel Camden in lane 7 of Quebec, and in lane 8, Rourke Martin of Ontario.
Next on the track, la piste, men 100 meters, Special Olympics, 200 mètres, hors Olympiques spéciaux, première vague de 2.
So introductions happening now for the fans on hand, not letting the weather dampen their day, if you will. Great job for them, by them to stick around, take in all this action, support these wonderful athletes.
Lane 4 from Team British Columbia, Jalen Jones. In lane 5 from Team PI, Keegan Waite. In lane 6 from Team Newfoundland and Labrador, Michael Buden. In lane 7 de l'équipe Québec, Denzel Camden. Et dans le couloir right, éliminé from Team Ontario, Rourke Martin.
On your marks.
So here we go. Heat number 1. 100 meters, men's Special Olympics. About to get started.
Set.
And a great start early on from Camden in lane 7 from Quebec, but big speed on the outside as Rourke Martin looks to make a move, and there you see lane 2, Nova Scotia's Jacob Rayfuse right down to the end. And what a finish for this first heat.
Well, Jacob Rayfuse putting himself in the conversation there late. It was a great start by Camden in 7. Martin running with them towards the end. And then in the end, it is Martin and Camden coming through 1-2, but Rayfuse is going to get himself that third big Q in this opening heat. Some impressive running from that trio.
Certainly was. You talked about the importance of getting a good start. And great job from Camden. Got out early, but in the end, great speed. Coming on the other side was Rourke Martin. These races just so close to call. There's a look you see in lanes 4 to 6, Adam. Those puddles really building up.
Wonder if we'll see the squeegee out here at some point, try to clean that up a little bit.
We've certainly seen a lot of squeegees out earlier on before the competition began, being trackside. Numerous volunteers out trying to prepare the track as best as they can. Big thanks to all of them who volunteer their time. So heat number 2 and final heat in this men's 100-meter Special Olympics coming up. Once again, 8 participants in this second heat. Jacob Potts from Ontario in lane 1. Jesse Renouf from lane 2 of Newfoundland and Labrador. In lane 3, Logan Barnes of Nova Scotia. Lane 4, Thomas Rack of British Columbia. In lane 5, Braden Giraudier of Saskatchewan. In lane 6, Matthew Jolicoeur from Manitoba. In lane 7, Gabriel Dupuis from Quebec. And in lane 8, Cameron Albert of New Brunswick. Any names jump out at you early on, Adam?
I got to start in lane 7, and Gabriel Dupuis from Team Quebec. He is the defending champion and the Canada Games record holder. Ran 11:30 back in 2022 to take the win and set that Canada Games record.
Great athletes certainly involved in this upcoming heat. Heat number 2. The 100 meters Special Olympics.
Mets-le dans le sac, là.
Gabriel Dupuis qui avait remporté la médaille d'or au jeu de 2022.
Approaching the line.
L'argent avait été remporté par Braden Giraudier de la Saskatchewan. Alors, peut-être
In the second heat of the men's 100 meters, 100 mètres hommes, deuxième vague. In lane 1, from Team Ontario, Jacob Potts. In lane 2, from
So athletes being introduced from our PA announcer to the live crowd. Great crowd on hand taking this in. Always fun to watch these special moments, the introductions. Big moments for these young athletes.
In lane 7, dans le couloir 7 de l'équipe Québec, as best time coming into this competition, Gabriel Dupuis. And in lane 8, from Team New Brunswick, Cameron Albert.
So here we go, 100 meters.
On your marks.
Men's Special Olympics, heat number 2.
Double time right now to get into the A final is 12:76.
Set.
So great start early on from Dupuis, trying to go right to the front. Nova Scotia, once again in lane 3, trying to get their big break from Saskatchewan as Girardier battling it out with Dupuis. It's going to be Dupuis passing first in the end, but Girardier with a great effort as well, and a close one. We'll keep a look at that time.
So Dupuis comes through in 11:80, Girardier 11:93, and then Logan Barnes also going to grab a big Q with a 12:48. Great start by the defending champion Dupuis in 7. Girardier also running very well. He is another sub-12-second athlete in this field. And they will see each other again in the A final. Thomas Rack coming through with a 12:57 for 4th place in this heat. So that is going to be quick enough to move him through to the A final on time. He'll be joined by Nathan Veen as a time qualifier in that A final.
Great camaraderie, as you see on display. Athletes congratulating each other on a big performance. Still lots more racing action on the way. Good to see the men's 100-meter para-ambulatory heat number 1. We'll be beginning momentarily. You're just joining us, certainly a wet and chilly day in St. John's this afternoon. Wet conditions on the track. Good job by the athletes to make those adjustments.
This men's para-ambulatory 100 meters will only have one heat with 5 competitors, so as long as everyone crosses the line, they will all be through to the final later at these championships.
Lane assignments, starting in lane 3, Etienne Riot of Quebec. Mathieu Doré of Quebec in lane 4. Brendan Cote-Williamson of Saskatchewan in lane 5. Lane 6, Hudson Booth of Ontario. And in lane 7, Seamus Reardon of Newfoundland and Labrador. Matthew, any early predictions or any names jumping out at you from these athletes competing here in this heat?
We saw a few of these athletes compete at the Canadian Track and Field Championships, but not a lot of them actually competed in the 100 meters. They competed in other races at those championships. But Brendan Cote-Williamson and Hudson Booth in lanes 5 and 6 respectively, certainly 2 athletes to keep an eye on. And And this will be a heat that has a range of different athlete classifications. Rayo, a T47 athlete. Doré, T64. Cote Williamson, a T47. Hudson Booth, a T38. And Reardon, a T36. So we have talked about the Raza point scoring earlier this afternoon. It won't be a huge factor here because there are 5 competitors in the field. So as long as they get across the line, all 5 of them, they will move on to the final. So they won't have to wait and see just how many points they will score.
Rain seems to be letting up a little bit here at the track. Keep an eye on these weather conditions. Certainly affecting the track, but a great job by everyone. Seems to be an exciting day thus far. A lot of buzz around the track here as well. Great crowd on hand taking these in. Great shot from our crew to show you all 8 lanes. Lanes 3 through 7 being used. 2 teams from Quebec in lanes 3 and 4. Saskatchewan in lane 5. Ontario, lane 6. And lane 7, Newfoundland and Labrador.
Cote Williamson, lane 5, Team Saskatchewan. Mentioned that he competed at the Canadian Track and Field Championships. He was the 200-meter para-ambulatory gold medalist. Finished with the silver medal in the 400 meters, but again, didn't compete in the 100 meters at those championships, but he will certainly be a athlete to keep close watch on here at these Canada Games.
Scheduled to start in just about 3 minutes, but as you mentioned, schedule a little bit ahead. See if they're trying to play a little bit of catch up.
Sur la piste, aux 100 mètres, hommes ambulatoires et nos 100 men's ambulatory.
So here we go, introductions.
We have in lane 2. Dans le couloir
By our announcer here at the Fortis Canada Games
in lane 3. Top rank in his category.
track. Certainly a beautiful venue for these games. Taking in all these track events, all these field events as well, happening in the middle throughout the week. Going to have continuing coverage.
Mathieu. In lane 5 from Team Saskatchewan. It is T47. He is the Canadian record holder, Brendan Cote Williamson. And in lane 6, from Team Ontario in the T38 class, Hudson Booth.
Hudson Booth in lane 6 there in the Team Ontario red. Another competitor at the Canadian Championships. Didn't race the para-ambulatory 100,
On your marks.
but did race the 200, where he was the silver medalist behind Cote Williamson.
Généralement, Mathieu, ce coin-là de vitesse, on se retrouve à la marque des 50, 60, 40 mètres.
So here we go. Heat number 1 of 1 for the 100-meter para-ambulatory.
Set.
Voilà les 5 athlètes qui sont prêts et s'élancent.
So here we go. Saskatchewan. Right to the front is Cote Williamson. Great speed. Down the middle. Looking back. Looks like it's going to be Mathieu Doré right behind him. And Hudson Booth to make it cross third. And a great run here in this 100-meter para-ambulatory heat. And a great finish from Mathieu Doré. What a great run from Cote Williamson. You love to see this part of it, all the sportsmanship after, athletes congratulating each other.
The second event of the men's decathlon is men's long jump. After the second jump, in third place, we have from Team Ontario, Sal Ute, with a jump of 6:18. In second place, Team Alberta, Jackson Turner with a jump of 6.24. In first place, from Team Quebec, de l'équipe Québec, avec un saut de 6.62 with a jump of 6.62, Edouard Lavoie-Roulier. They are currently in the process of their third jump. Sont en train de sauter leur troisième saut.
Wow, des finales et elles ont eu 27 semaines. Alors, les athlètes ont eu le temps de se préparer. Et pour Mathieu, généralement, ça ressemble à quoi ces quelques jours-là?
So getting ready for our next event. The men's 100 meters. Going to be 3 different heats. Certainly an exciting time of the days. 100 meters, always a favorite at these Canada Summer Games.
And it's been an exciting year so far for the sprints in Canada. We've seen the U18 Canadian men's 100-meter record fall several times, courtesy of Wyatt Lee. He initially broke the record of Olympian Aaron Brown, and then he kept bettering his own clocking. And then we saw the U20 record fall at the championships earlier this summer.
Ces athlètes, justement, qui vont tenter étrangement, Mathieu, de s'éviter tout ce plaisir au courant des prochains jours en se qualifiant pour les prochaines rondes. Nous avons 8 athlètes sur la piste.
That U20 record fell courtesy of Tuni Ogunyeye. Clocked a 10:23 to win the U20 Canadian crown. So, future's looking bright for Canada in the sprints.
C'est la première vague de cette compétition de 100 mètres chez les hommes.
There you see the warm-ups getting underway.
Sur la piste, Mathieu.
All 8 lanes being used in this heat number 1. Tega Berman of the Yukon in lane number 1. Lane 2, Isaac Gillingham of Newfoundland and Labrador. Gabrielle Mompoint of Quebec in lane 3. Sean McGowan of Prince Edward Island in lane 4. Camry Sharp of Nova Scotia in lane 5. Tristan Banks of New Brunswick in lane number 6. Alufemi Akinloyi of Saskatchewan in lane 7. And Travis Campbell of Ontario in lane number 8.
And there is a Canadian champion in the mix in this opening heat. That is Gabriel Mompoint from Quebec. Again, he'll be in lane 3. He was the Canadian 60-meter champion back in 2024.
Ouais, et si on regarde les deux prochaines vagues, là, rapidement aussi, Mathieu, on a des athlètes très, très rapides dans chacune des vagues.
A great look at the starting line of Gabrielle Mompoint of Quebec. Home province on the track for this one in lane 2, as we mentioned, Isaac Gillingham. And the focus certainly high as these heats continue. You see all the athletes looking to get that important. Good start off the blocks.
Travis Campbell also in the mix here. He'll be in lane 8. He's from Team Ontario. He was 6th in the open race at the Canadian Track and Field Championships in Ottawa. The clocking of 10:39. The games record was set back in 2022, courtesy of Eliza Ajibi from Team Ontario. He ran 10:32. And these athletes, or some of these athletes across these 3 heats, do have seat times better at 10:32. So we'll see if that record survives the 2025 Canada Games.
Est-ce que parfois les athlètes ont une préférence, tu dois être à l'intérieur de la piste, à l'extérieur, être en milieu avec...
And this is an event that will also have an A and a B final. So the top 2 finishers from each heat will be going through the A final. And then the competitors with the next best 2 times who didn't finish top 2 in their heat. And then it will be the athletes with the next best 8 times contesting the B final.
Rain looks like it's picking up once again at the track. Another hurdle for these athletes to overcome. Mother Nature here in beautiful St. John's, Newfoundland and Labrador. Such wonderful hosts of these summer games.
La piste est fermée. Nous sommes maintenant aux premières vagues de 3 de 100 mètres masculin. We are now in the first heat of 3 in the 100 men. In lane 1 from Team Yukon, Tega Berman. In lane 2 from Team Newfoundland and Labrador, Isaac Gillingham.
So here we go, athlete introductions. From our PA announcer.
In lane 5 from Team Nova Scotia, 18 years old, Camry Sharp. In lane 6 from Team New Brunswick, Tristan Jackson Banks. In lane 7 from Team Saskatchewan, Olufemi Okinoy. And in line 8 from Team Ontario, Travis Campbell.
So there you have it. Introductions finished. Heat number 1 of 3 for the men's 100 meters here at the Canada Summer Games. Getting ready to get started.
On your marks.
So here we go. Getting into the blocks. Men's 100 meter, heat number 1.
Set.
And we are underway. What a start. Early on the outside, Travis Campbell in lane 8 trying to push forward. Monpoint from Quebec trying to break ahead. Looks like he won't be able to get to the line first. And that was close. Travis Campbell at the end and Camry Sharp. Certainly close at the finish. Adam, perhaps you got a better look at it.
That looked a bit like a final, just the way everyone was trying to push through to the line because they want those auto qualifier spots. They're only going to the top 2 finishers. At one point, I think, thought he was free and clear, and then on the outside, the challenge from Campbell made things very interesting. So the nod goes to Travis Campbell. He clocks a 10:48. Then Camry Sharp and Tristan Banks right now showing 10:50s, although now they've taken it away from Sharp. So the athletes are going to wait out on the track for a minute here. They want to see how this all plays out. All right, Campbell 10:48, Banks 10:50, on point 10:59, and Akinloye 10:60. So Campbell and Banks are getting those big cues. Monpoint and Akinloye are going to wait with bated breath to see if their times respectively are going to move them on to the A final. I think Banks just saw the times come through, and he'll certainly like what he sees as he's getting a big cue.
And big speeds in that first heat. There's a great look at the times from heat number 1. Travis Campbell of Ontario. And it was Tristan Jackson Banks from New Brunswick, Monpoint from Quebec, followed by Olufemi Akinloye from Saskatchewan. Certainly fast, and if you like that, good news, 2 more heats coming right up.
And Robbie, in a race like that, even if it's just a heat, it's a little funny sometimes when you see all the athletes just sort of milling around on the track afterwards, because they're just like we are. They're waiting to see how all the times break down because they want to know, hey, am I moving on?
That's a good point. Especially in a race. I was just going to say a race like that was so close.
Back in the 29 Canadian Track and Field Championships, it was the 100-meter final. And Andre DeGrasse and Aaron Brown finished basically side by side. So you couldn't tell who won the gold. And then the timers had to go through all the process, look at the photo finish. And it took about 5 minutes because they want to get it right. So you had all the athletes still on the track looking up at the board because they were waiting, just like we all were, to see who was going to be the Canadian champion.
Certainly tense moments, I imagine. A title like that on the line.
I'm sure, though, in your experience, of course, in your curling career, is it the same way sometimes when you wait to see what the measurement's going to be, to see if, you know, who's going to score what?
Yep, very similar. Certainly takes about 5 seconds to do a rock measurement. That seems about 5 minutes minimum as that tool comes around. These athletes, though, you know what's gone into this. You know how much training has been partaken in to lead to these games. The sacrifices they've made, their families have made to compete. All comes down to that 10.5 seconds. Certainly very, very, very high pressured stuff here in the 100 meters. The name's updated for heat number 2. 8 lanes once again. In lane 1, Dominic Barassi from Ontario. Keon Rude from Alberta in lane 2. Lane 3, Ryan Lufstrom of British Columbia. In lane 4, Jared Hebert of Manitoba. In lane 5, Crispin Hatendi of Newfoundland and Labrador. In lane 6, Khalid Abunaga from Northwest Territories. In lane 7, Nathan Ryu of New Brunswick. And in lane 8, Siddiqui Diakite from Prince Edward Island. Any names jumping out at you from that list, Adam, early on?
Well, Robbie, we've got a couple athletes in this heat who were in the final at the Canadian Championships. Barassi was 8th in that final, the clocking at 10:56. He's in lane 1. Right next to him in 2, Keon Rude from Team Alberta. He was 7th in that final in a time of 10:49. Also have a couple competitors in the final of the U20 race at Nationals. Ryan Lufstrom was 5th with a time of 10:57, and so Lufstrom will be in 3, and then Ryu in 7th in that U20 race at Nationals at a time of 10:66.
So here we go, lining up. Ontario, Alberta, BC, Manitoba, Newfoundland, Labrador, Northwest Territories, New Brunswick, and Prince Edward Island. In this second heat of 3 in the men's 100 meter. Fast times in heat number 1. Expect the same here in heat number 2.
Set.
And we are off, underway first. Pretty even out of the gates. Ontario in lane 1, trying to take the lead, feeling pressure from Rude of Alberta, but there it goes. Barassi for Ontario gonna cross first. And a big effort from Keon Rude in Alberta to take second spot in this opening heat. Excuse me, second heat.
Ryu also put himself in the mix there late. But Barassi getting across first. It was a good start in lane 7 by Ryu when he was able to carry that through, but in that back half of the race, the inside of the track was where most of the action was. And seems to be a bit of a hiccup right now with the timing software. So I think these athletes are just going to wait a second. Barissi's looking pretty confident, and he should be. Looks like he's going to get through with a big Q.
I think he's fired up at him.
I don't know if that was a cue he was trying to mimic, but he knows he's moving on, and still trying to work out the times here. You can see the athletes looking up at the scoreboard. Winds have settled down here. That last heat was 0.8 meters per second tailwind. But right now they've got the times in the 7-minute, 10-second range, so I think I might even be able to get under that one, so we'll have to wait and see.
No comment for me, Adam. I'm not confident I could do it.
As long as there's no meteor race, we're okay. Well, now they're giving Barisi 10:41, and Rude's getting 10:54, so they're going to get the big cues.
We'll move on.
Ryu gets 10:60, and 10:60. Well, it's tough to say if that's going to be enough to get him through on time to that A final, as Akinloye ran 10:60 in the opening heat, so they're going to have to go down to the thousandths of a second there.
Troisième vague s'amène et se prépare. Cette vague sera composée de Chad Smith pour la Nouvelle-Écosse, du Québec. Alors que Mathieu, je me fais un peu couper la parole par le tableau. Là, on aperçoit les résultats. On voit une égalité ici en Brian Boswell, Jerry Hurt. Ça pourrait être intéressant pour les qualifications.
So an exciting 2 heats thus far in the men's 100-meter, and our third coming up momentarily. Once again, 8 lanes being used. Participants in lane 1 from Nova Scotia, Chad Smith. In lane 2, Zachary Elkin. In lane 3, Malachi Muir. In lane 4, Jean-Paul Lefebvre. In lane of Yukon, I should say. In lane 5, Liam O'Donnell of British Columbia. In lane 6, Joshua Onwaninku. In lane 7, Williams Ogunubi. And in lane 8, Colson Church. Are the official competitors? Adam, any names stand out in this roster?
Well, it's been a good 2025 for Alberta's Malachi Muir, who's going to be in lane 3. He picked up the gold at the Canadian Indoor Championships in the 200 meters, and he picked up the bronze in the 60 meters, so he's going to be one to watch. Also have Joshua Onwanekimku out of Manitoba. He's clocked a 10:28 here in 2025, and that has him tied for 10th in the Canadian rankings this year.
A lot of speed on the line here for a third and final heat here in the 100 meters for men's. Heavy rain coming down now in St. John's. Will it be a factor? We'll see as they are off and right to the front in lane 6. Manitoba trying to pull ahead. Big pressure from Saskatchewan beside him. And it's going to be, oh no! Ogunubi seemed to pull ahead. It looked like a potential injury. Certainly don't want to speculate in lane 6. Adam, take us through what you saw.
Well, that was Onwanimku from Manitoba. He was certainly in the mix, but in the last 15 meters or so, wonder if that may be a hamstring, and you hate to see that. Yeah, right there. Oh, and it is going to be Ogunubi who's going to get the nod here in this third and final heat. 10:50 for him, Muir 10:73. Elkins 10:79. Is not going to be quick enough to get him through to the A final on time. And then Onwanimku did get himself across the line at 10:83 and just hope that he's okay.
We'll wait for those final results to come in. A reminder, we are back later on with several more heats in the preliminary rounds here in athletics. All day we're on the track. 1,500 meters coming up later on today, 400 meters as well. 4 by 100 meter relays. That's all later on tonight. We're just waiting for the results to come in. There are viewers tuning in. Big thanks to Adam Dunphy for joining in today, bringing his expertise in the sport of athletics, specifically on the track. You see a shot of the conditions these athletes running in here today in St. John's. Just waiting for the official times to come through. We'll bring you those.
They're waiting for, they have to wait for the slow down. You see a shot of Fortis Canada Games Center here. Great venue for athletics. Well, Adam, thank you for joining me. We'll see you later on this evening. Tune in, 5:55 local time. More action for Adam Dunphy. I'm Robbie Doherty. So long from St. John's.
Atlantic Lottery is proud to sponsor important community initiatives like this year's Canada Games.
Calling St. John's unique is like calling a humpback a goldfish. It's wildly different here.
Hello.
Hi, remember me? We bought your old house.
Yes.
We brought some mail.
Oh.
Hey.
The diaper subscription. I forgot to cancel it.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet the memories are coming back now. The BMO app helps you keep an eye on where your money's going.
Like how?
Well, for one, it would have told you this subscription price had gone up multiple times.
It's a lot of diapers.
Well, extra's good. So where's the baby?
Oh, he's right here. This is the baby.
And that ain't no baby.
BMO. I'ma leave it all on the line. Better believe I'll get mine. Now or never, it's my time. It's my time. It's my time. I'ma leave it all on the line. Better believe I'll get mine. Now or never, it's my time. It's my time. It's my time. I'ma leave it all on the line. Better believe I'll get mine. Now or never, it's my time. It's my time. It's my time.